Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Janice, and I'm from the Sacramento Air District. This is Chris Howard. We're going to be facilitating the data validation exercise for about the next hour or so, plus or minus a few minutes. So for the people who are sitting at the walls, you might want to find a table to participate at. So maybe you want to come and fill in some of the tables up in. Okay. So since we all love questions and surveys, how many people here consider themselves a first level validator? Show of hands, site operators? Yeah? How about second level validators? Okay, quite a few. And then what about third level validators? Okay, great. So no matter what your job is back at your office, today for about the next hour, we're going to walk in each other's shoes. We're going to see what it's like, see what are the different types of tools that each level uses to validate their data. And why do we want to do this? We want to do this because it creates consistency. It makes your job easier. It makes the next level person's job easier. And it pretty much makes everything a little bit more efficient when we know what the next person is looking for. So, PowerPoint. Okay. So what's your goal for the exercise in front of you? Your goal is to validate PM 2.5 BAM FEM data for December 2013 by going through the 3-level process that Reggie had just talked about. And I'm going to let Chris talk a little bit about the setup.
Okay, so what the setup is all about is we'll have, for each level of validation, 1, 2, and 3, we'll have first the exercise for a few minutes, and then we'll get together and talk about what we went through and have somewhat of a discussion. So as we were mentioning, we're just going to be talking about 2.5 data from a BAM unit. So it's really as simple as it can get right now. Every district has way more than that, but we're going to keep it simple. So in front of you is the package of information that contains all the tools that you'll need to do level 1 validation. And then as we progress through the different levels of validation, we'll get more and more tools at our disposal. All right, so just a couple disclaimers about the data in front of you and the data we'll be working with. It's pretty much make-believe. It's made up, but it definitely could be real. I think it modeled after real data, perhaps.
Modeled after real data,
okay.
But.
So I want you to try to exercise a little bit of restraint, and when we're doing, when you have the hat of level 1 validator on, just keep that hat on and don't try to jump forward to level 2 and level 3. Let's really try to focus. And we'll be pretending in this exercise that we work for an agency that provides their data to CARB to upload to AQS. So we're not going to be doing that at all. And just remember that there's no right or wrong answer when you are brainstorming about the issues here. We'll go over the right answers after we're done, or at least what we came up with. We're no experts either.
Okay, so a little bit about the site that you're going to be working with, because you have to know a little bit about where you're at, right? We're talking about Del Paso Manor, which is in Sacramento County. It was established in 1979, and it's an NCORE site. So it samples multi-pollutants. It's near an elementary school, in a park near an elementary school. And it uses an automated data logger system like the one that Mark was describing earlier. And also an important information that we should keep in mind for Sacramento, that wood smoke is a prominent problem during the winter time. And when's the winter time? We consider it we consider that as November through the end of February. Okay? So Reggie did a great job on describing what you're supposed to do in level 1, right? You're supposed to, you're the people who are the closest to the data, and you're gonna, make sure you denote any downtimes, instrument malfunctions, etc. Flag suspect data for further review. So in level 1, what's provided for you? You got a data set in a monthly format. You got a logbook sheet, quality control maintenance check sheets, a copy of the last flow check for the PM 2.5 monitoring station, a list of null codes and qualifier codes. Oh. Okay. Oh. Okay. So this is the monthly data sheet that you have. What I want to just go through a little bit is what you have. Okay. On the top part, you have the hours. Okay. By date. And then on, what is that, the right or left side? You have some statistics by daily statistics, averages, min, maxes. Then on the bottom of that matrix, you have some more statistics by hours. The next thing you have is the logbook sheet. And then you have the quality control maintenance sheets. And what we really want you to focus on here is the what is it called? The control limits. Okay, did they do the weekly checks or maintenance checks? And then here it is. And the control limits that are located on the right. Then you have a copy of the last flow check for the PM 2.5 monitor. And you saw this earlier in an earlier presentation. And here you're looking at whether or not it's meeting the controls. Then you have a list of no codes that are provided for you. What we want you to notice here is that there's a couple of different kinds of null codes that Reggie went over, right? So you'll have some that are information only, okay? And then you have some that are null codes, okay? Okay, so with that, these are your different things that you're supposed to be looking for as first level reviewers. So if you can, for the next about 10 minutes or so, go ahead and break out that package and start looking at the data. Please take our seats. Let's come back for discussion.
Excuse me? No problem.
How was that? Good? So first level reviewer task, okay? Let's have a quick discussion about what we did, okay? What was the very first thing you did when you got your package? I'm just gonna start calling on people. What was it? So you looked at the data, the maximums, the minimums. Somebody said you read the logbooks, okay? What else? Say that again? Is this a real logbook? Maybe. For the purposes of this training, yes. Anything else? You looked at the maintenance forms, quality control check sheets, flow check sheets, right? Here you go. Site logs, you looked at statistics, you got quality control sheets, the calibrations, and did the data make sense? No? What part of it doesn't make sense? A lot of it? Okay, let's look at that. Okay, we're gonna walk through this. We're gonna look at the first 10 days first, okay? Tell me, we're gonna go in chronological order, don't just throw out random days. So what was the first thing that you saw that might have been a little suspicious? Negative numbers, what date? 12/3. These right here? What did you do as a first level validator? Look at the MDL? Mm-hmm. Did anybody flag the data already? You did. What did you flag it as?
Machine malfunction, possibly.
You flagged it as machine malfunction. Or suspect. BR, okay. It could be real, right? Yeah, could very well be real. How could we have negative particulates? That's the range on some of them, right? It could. So you're saying that it could possibly be 0. It could be, or it could be -4, right? Okay. Next one. From 12:11 to 12:20. What was? Oh. 12:4. 1500. 2200. The 102. Is that what you're looking at right here? Okay. Suspicious. Could be real though, right? Okay. 12:11 to 12:20. 12 what? 12:10? Oh, 12:10.
I spied on it.
Precision check. It's at the wrong time. Could it be possibly a logbook error? Could be a data logger error? Maybe. Okay. Good catches. Okay, we're going to move to 12:11 to 12:20. What was the first thing we saw here in this time range?
12:19 started at hour 13:11 is where we came.
So you're saying 12:19,
12:20.
this time period?
Yep.
Why?
Very low ranges.
So we have very low ranges around that time. What? So did you flag the data?
It's
Questionable.
questionable.
So you might have flagged it for the next level validator to look at, correct?
Well, not knowing anymore and not having other instruments to look at, met error information, and highly unlikely that that's accurate data.
Right, so we need more information to make that determination. Okay? 12:20 to 12:31. What was the first thing that we saw here? Say that again, Phil? $12.20? Sticking values. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. So 12:21. 12:20. Are we looking at the same data? Sorry, this is 12:21 to 12:31. Sorry. So there's some sticking values here, right? 64s. What did we do with that data? Malfunction. Why was it a malfunction? Tape broke. How do we know that? It was in a logbook, right? So it was proven, we have evidence to say that this was a tape breaking. So we invalidated it. Okay? What was the next thing we saw? Christmas? I heard Christmas. Christmas Eve. What happened on Christmas Eve? Fireplace? It could be. We saw very high values during Christmas Eve, right? 123, 159s, 985s. What did you guys do with the 985s? You invalidated it. Why? Okay, so it was either the analyzers was offline, it didn't complete its cycle, it showed up with an error, right? Okay. What? So did you only do that with the 985s? Only the what about the values prior to that? Suspect. That's what Patrick said. Suspect. So you flagged it possibly for the next validator's review. Was there anything else during this time period?
Yes.
When was it?
We invalidated a large chunk of data from 1223 at 09,
1223,
at 09 where the 64 stopped.
where the 64 stopped.
Till the next maintenance, which is at 1227 at 1400. The reason being is that at the earlier date, the membrane broke and he did a repair. And then the membrane broke at the later date. And the machine now is questionable until the last time the machine was looked at, which was when the 64 stopped and the tape was replaced.
Does everybody agree with that? How come? You're taking it back to the precision check. Why? But let's see. Can somebody give me the site log? Okay. So he replaced the tape, right? And then he found out that the tape broke on the BAM. Okay. Okay. So yeah. Did anybody find anything else? I already circled it. I'm sorry. New Year's Eve. There's really high values there, right? Could be possibly fireworks. We don't know, though, right? It could be somebody burning a fire right next to it. Could be somebody running a diesel engine, or maybe several. Or smoking cigars. I don't know. So it's for suspect review later. Okay? So I'm going to hand it over to Chris to tell you a little bit about second level validation.
Good job, level 1 validators. All right, so we're going to take off that hat now, and we're going to put on our Sherlock Holmes level 2 validation hat. Because at this level, we really get to use a lot more tools than the site operator did at the shelter, where they're pretty much just looking at that raw grid of numbers. Now we get to look at charts and graphs and statistics and all sorts of other tools in the office that can help us better determine whether or not data is valid or not. All right, so now we'll be handing out the level 2 packet. So what's included in this next packet? Well, you'll have everything you've already done in level 1, as well as you'll have some time series graphs. So we've taken this data that you've got in front of you and plotted it. And you all know that looking at data in a chart format sometimes really helps data issues stand out. Well, that's what we're going to be working with now. So here's an example of a time series graph from week 1, where you've got every day plotted out for every hour, and every day is a different color, so you can see spikes at the end of the day. We'll be looking at daily maximum and minimum concentrations for every day of the month of December. So some spikes might stand out to you. We'll be looking at multi-site trends. Now, this is something that you could not do alone with the data that you had in level 1. We'll be looking at 4 different sites in the Sacramento area and looking at how those compare with each other. And that's going to help you solve one of the mysteries of the data that was just brought up in level 1. As well as you've got information available to you on the internet that will help you solve another riddle with this data that you've got in front of you. Here's the internet printout here, so do take note of this. It's not just for fun. Okay, so then you've also got the metadata from the BAM 2.5 monitor, which will be invaluable to help you determine whether or not some of the data is valid or not. So here is a printout of that data. And you'll notice, perhaps, there are some ones in amongst all those zeros. That's a hint. Those are back there, that circled, that oval at the top, those are all the various flag fields. So there's some ones down below in this oval here that relate to some of those flagged fields. So that combined with the manual printout from the BAM that has all the errors and what you will do with the data when you encounter those errors. So take a note of that too. Okay. And then finally, you'll be provided a data validation template, which is second level reviewers' obligation to fill out to provide to level 3 to send off to, I guess, CARB usually to be certified. So you'll have this to fill out too. Okay, so as you work through level 2 with your Sherlock Holmes hat on, be sure to think of these things. Think of what you're doing as the second level reviewer. And what are some of the statistics that you can use to better understand, plot the data, make errors stick out, and know what to do with them. So think about what challenges that you're encountering as a level 2 validator, and what might be helpful that the site operator might do to give you to better understand the data. And this kind of comes down to communication. You know, make sure that every issue is written down on the log sheet or otherwise communicated up to level 2. Otherwise, it didn't happen. Okay, so with that, take some time to go through your packet. It might be helpful to take off the staple and really just kind of delve into it and read every piece of information you've got there. We'll give you, I know, maybe another 15 minutes or something like that to consider this and go through level 2. All right, level 2 validators, let's start collecting ourselves.
So I'm going to be over here looking at that.
Weren't those graphs helpful? All right, level 2ers. What sort of things did you find as a level 2 reviewer? Okay, y'all. So what was helpful as a level 2 reviewer? The fire article was helpful. That explained a lot. Yeah, the plots, the graphs really help a lot, don't they? You can do conditional formatting on those grids of data, but sometimes that just doesn't cut it. So yeah, those graphs are super helpful. Metadata, excellent. Yeah, you really have to dive into the details to find what the truth is. Anything else over here? All right, any other things over here about what was useful as level 2 in this information packet to help review the data? Anything else? Site comparisons, another really good one. Okay, so I think we covered all this. So what you did here is level 2, is you reviewed everything pretty much that level 1 did. And then, well, you know what you did here. Let's just move on. All right, so the statistics that you were using. We just provided a sample of types of graphs that you can use, but I think what Mark was saying is really know your model, know your monitor, know your instrumentation, because you might be able to look at your data in a different way to help understand whether or not data is valid or not. Okay, so we're looking at diurnal profiles, monthly statistics, multi-site trends, as well as data completeness to make sure all the data is there. Another thing that would have been really helpful for level 2, I think, and some of you may have thought this also, is metadata. I mean, that could have really been helpful also to help explain what you were seeing. All right, so in reviewing some of these plots, we noticed some things like this big spike over here on the 31st of December, where hours 20, 21, and 22 are way high. And Sure, you can think, oh, maybe it was a wildfire or fireworks or something, but we really can't say for certainty what it was. So there's that spike there, okay. And then another thing that you may have found on your plots is this rapid ascending PM 2.5 and then a flat line at 985 on the 24th, and then a rapid decrease of PM 2.5 on Christmas morning, the 25th. So that flat line of 985 is really suspicious. We'll just continue on right now. And then that descent on the Christmas day. Okay, and then looking at your min and max graphs, you can help, this really makes it obvious that there's a spike there on the 24th and the 25th, and again on the 31st. Does everyone do this in their data review process back at the office? This is kind of key. And you could do it in Excel, you could do it in all sorts of different ways. But, okay, so right here, we notice a flat line right about 64 or so. You saw this in the data earlier also, but now we see it graphically, and again, it really stands out. There's also a somewhat suspicious PM 2.5 climb up on, I guess that's the 15th. Is it valid or not? I don't know. There's nothing to indicate it's not valid. Okay, so does anyone have anything else to add about things that could have been useful in this exercise that could have helped explain more things? Yeah. Yeah, weather patterns, exactly. And we're going to look at that in just a second. Okay, so yeah, that internet printout, you really have the opportunity to really get into more detail about what happened at any site. The shelter temperatures are also critical. We didn't provide that to you, but the monitors can only operate within a certain range, and if it was outside that range, that data would be invalid as also. Okay, so yeah, so again, know your monitor, know your site, and try to understand what's happening. Every data point has a story to tell, and it's our job to figure out what that story is. Okay, so between December 1st and December 10th, we already highlighted some of these negative values as suspicious back in level 1. What did we do with those in level 2? Invalid. No, valid. They were valid. Okay, which ones were valid? All the negative 4s and negative 2s?
Because all the other sites were sucked down and nothing too.
Okay, does anyone have any other thoughts about the negative values? Negative 4s were invalid. Why is that? They're below the what? Below the MDL. Is that what people are thinking also? Okay. All right. So I don't have personal familiarity with this instrument, but I understand that perhaps negative 3 might be the limit of what's acceptable. Yeah. Okay. Okay, she's saying that there are some issues and questions about the BAM 2.5 negative values, and AQS actually takes down to negative 10. Yeah. The agency should basically decide. It's a judgment call about whether to include negative values further than negative 3 or not. But again, know your instrumentation and know what values you feel comfortable accepting. Okay. So here are these negative 4 values, which may be invalid. For right now, we're going to say they're invalid. All right. Anything else in the week of the 11th through the 20th now? Yeah, so what happened here, these low values? So I heard something about a rain event. It rains, okay. Could that explain low PM 2.5? Oh, yeah. All right, so why don't we look at this graph here that compares all the different sites near Del Paso, And we notice that indeed there is basically a drop down to nearly 0 for all sites for that date range. So without doing any further internet research or meteorological research, we can pretty safely say that this was a rain event that dropped them all down to nearly 0. Excellent. So now you're finding that these graphs and multi-site comparisons are useful. This is fun. All right, so how about these 64s? Level 1 identified this as a tape break. Are we going to invalidate these? Yeah. All right. So we're going to invalidate all those 64s. Anything else? Okay, all those 64s up until, I guess, the 9th hour of the 22nd. Yeah, so yeah, all the 64s. You think the first one's valid? Who thinks the first one's valid? Okay. Okay, who thinks the first 64 is invalid? Okay. I personally don't know. I'd throw it out, just but because it sounds like there was a malfunction during it. The date, yeah, okay. So anyway, here's the log notes that indicate that was a tape break. Okay, moving on. What about these quickly ramping up hours on Christmas Eve and then flatlining at 9:85? A grass fire. Yeah, the internet research shows that there was a grass fire. So what happened at this site? It got inundated with smoke, big time. It ramped up from baseline levels up to 700, and then it hit this 985. What's that all about? Right. So there was a flow issue during those 985 hours, which I understand. The BAM kicks out these values of 985 that aren't real values. They're just a code that indicates that there was some sort of flow issue. And that was also in the metadata for those few hours. There were some error codes about flow. So that was one of the clues that you had to indicate that those 985s are actually not valid hours. All right, and there's the graph showing that. But what about the hours where the data was ramping up to that 985? Are those good?
There's a metadata flag for the 10th hour, but it doesn't show up on the data.
Okay, did anyone see that there was a metadata flag on the 10th hour of the 23rd? Who said that? Okay, and so, Carl, what were you saying about that flag?
The metadata shows that there was a flag there, and the maintenance log shows the wrong date or the wrong time that there was maintenance performed, and it doesn't show any kind of a flag on the data.
That's a good sleuth. Okay, so with that flag in the metadata, I guess we'd have to throw out the data since the instrument was saying that it was bad for that hour.
Saying that maintenance was performed.
Okay. Okay, so perhaps maintenance was performed and there was someone forgot to write in the logbook or something. Hard to say. Wrong time. Okay, great. Excellent sleuthing. Yes. About the 985s. The flow data showed that the flow is okay. 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 So does anyone have any familiarity with the 985 codes? What do those 985 codes mean? That's the maximum output of the unit. It's an error code. It's a default setting for anything goes wrong. It's a 985. So from my understanding, it's data that we throw out. Okay. And yeah, I think here is that other flag that was right here embedded in the data that wasn't.
Because it's not an error flag, it is actually in the maximum range of the unit. Because it's an FEM, they are set -15 to 95, 40,000 microgram range. So it is basically putting
Okay. Okay. So he's saying that the 985 value is just the maximum value that the instrument can register, basically, or monitor. Does that mean that's the PM 2.5 concentration that was occurring during those 4 hours? Right. So if it's unknown, then how can you say that was the value? So I understand that the value is high or higher than 985, but it's hard to stand behind it you can't. It's invalid, basically.
I would say it's invalid because you also have the P code in the metadata for excessive pressure drop.
Yeah. So there are pressure issues also. Basically, the monitor was just overwhelmed.
There's an EH code that's estimated exceeds upper range.
Okay. So there's a qualifier code called EH, which is estimated. The values are estimated. Okay. There's some discussion to be had here, but we're going to continue through right now. And here's that internet search that says that indeed there was a fire on Christmas Eve, and it was put out, and by Christmas morning it was pretty much out. Okay. And then what happened on New Year's Eve? Some higher values. Yeah, up to 387 and 412 and 200. So are these valid data, do you think? Valid data. And it helps to show a multi-site comparison showing a similar occurrence at 4 different sites. So yeah, there were parties happening everywhere that night. Yeah. All right. So now take off that hat, and we're going to move back to level 3.
Great. So thank you, Chris. Oh. So we're going to, now that we went through level 1 and level 2, we're going to look at what level 3 does. So on your table, I put another package. And, Reggie went through what you're supposed to be doing. You're looking at a higher level, data capture rates, completeness. Are there exceptional events that you want to flag for planning? Do you agree with those flags? You're approving the data to be uploaded into AQS. So 3rd level, what's provided for you? All the information that you got from level 1 and level 2. Capture rate information. And that's how it looks like. We provided capture rate information for all of the sites in the network because as a level 3 manager, you're looking at the network. But you see that there's a gray version of there where we would like for you to focus on. And then you have a data validation letter to sign. That's what you're supposed to do. Here it is. So you have a dummied up version that you're going to pretty much review and then sign. So you're going to pick one person from your table to sign on the dotted line. Okay, and with that, there are several questions. there are several questions that we want you to start thinking about, okay? And these are the different checks. These are different questions we want you to go through. Okay, with that, you got about, 5 minutes. All right, let's come back. Let's come back, please. Let's talk about level 3. Let's talk about level 3. So first of all, can I have the person who was supposed to sign for each table stand up, please? One person from each table, stand up. Who is it? Who's taking responsibility? Apparently you're getting paid the big bucks. All right? Okay. Do I have everybody from one table? How about this table? Sac Metro, you don't want to sign your own data? Pick one person. Matt. Oh, Kate's the one. Okay. Who actually signed the data? I mean, the letter. Who signed it? If you signed it, stand up. Or stay stand up. Stay stood up? I don't know. Who didn't sign? Kate. That table. There's two. Why didn't you sign the letter? So you found things that may not have documentation. Right. Okay. So what were your tasks as a third level reviewer? What did you do? Find out the truth. What does that mean? So you're validating whether or not level 1 and level 2 has completed their checks. Correct? What else?
Gross errors in the pass-outs.
Say that again?
Finding all the gross errors you seeded in the pass-outs.
Finding all the errors that were in the handouts. Okay, so you're reviewing the data capture rates. You're checking the validation letter for accuracy, and let's per se, it was all correct. You all signed it on the dotted line, right? And then another thing to consider as a third level manager is exceptional events such as the fire next to the station. You might want to consider forwarding that information to your planning group or whoever is responsible for exceptional events, because it might affect attainment issues, design value. So it's good to let them know as soon as you know. So we already answered this question. Some people did and some people didn't. This is what you got. Did anybody find that it actually said November and not December? We're validating December's data, right? That's your job. You're checking for accuracy. Come on. What about here? What was it? What was wrong with it? It was the wrong date. What date is it supposed to be? It's supposed to be 12/22. How about here? Did anybody find any any problems here?
Yeah, date range.
The date range?
First one, it's not 10 o'clock, it's 12,
Okay.
because that's when the fire started.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second one's the wrong date and the wrong hours.
Right.
And
And
the wrong code.
and so it's pretty much wrong everything. It pretty much was a cut and paste from
It's 3 hours
possibly the
and
top.
whatever the fireworks code is, but we wrote it down.
And so when you're reviewing this data, you're ultimately ensuring that you agree with the codes as well. You're the person who ensures that there's consistency throughout throughout all the different sites that you may manage. Okay. So here is the correct version that you're now given, December, and then all the dates that are changed. So it's IH, fireworks. And you did it! Yay! Give yourselves a round of applause. Okay. So just to recap, we are doing a multi-level process. As Reggie said, the lines might blur depending on the resources that you have within your district, but these are typical levels that we're looking at. The site operators are looking for interferences. They're looking for, measurement or analyzer malfunctions. Level 2 is looking at a little bit higher level network-wise. And then level 3, ultimately, you're approving that data to be uploaded into AQS. So remember, all data is considered valid until proven otherwise. Thank you.
That was a great exercise to end the day on. So thank you, data validation folks. So we have a question. So you had you exited too early.
I didn't say there was questions allowed. What was the question? How do you know if the data validation letter is the same as what goes? You're checking for that. You're assuming that the level 2 person. I'm looking at is that the validation letter? Yeah. So you're assuming the level 2 person who's putting together for you that package to give to you to sign off has prepared that according to that letter.
So I'll answer that because we upload Sacramento's data, correct? Yes. So in this instance for Sacramento, that certification letter comes to Feng Li's group, who uploads the data. And in the roles and responsibilities document that we just wrote with Sacramento, we put it back upon them as to it's their responsibility to go back into AQS and make sure that the data that we entered into AQS for them accurately represents what they intended it to be. That's the sole purpose of that letter, is to have that traceability back as data generators. They're certifying the data. We enter it, then they need to go back and verify that what's entered in AQS is correct. Great question.